They say love is blind, but what they don't tell you is that sometimes love is also stupid, naive, desperate to believe in fairy tales even when all the evidence screams otherwise. My name is Amara. I'm a Pakistani-American woman born and raised in New York City. And this is the story of how a man used me as his ticket to America, and how I made sure that ticket got permanently canceled. It was September 2019. I was 28 years old, working as a nurse at Mount Sinai Hospital in Manhattan. I'd been born in Jackson Heights, Queens, to Pakistani immigrant parents who came to the U.S. in 1988. I was their American dream realized. College educated, financially independent, living in my own apartment in Astoria. But there was one thing missing. According to my parents anyway, marriage. "Beta, you're 28 now," my mother would say every time I visited their home in Queens. "All your cousins are married. When will you settle down?" "Ammy, I'm focused on my career. I'll get married when I find the right person." "The right person won't just appear. You have to look. Let us help you." I'd always resisted arranged marriages, wanted to find love organically. But after years of failed relationships and dating app disasters, I was tired, exhausted. Maybe my parents were right. Maybe it was time to be practical. So in August 2019, I agreed to let them set me up with someone. "But he has to live in the U.S., I insisted. "I'm not moving to Pakistan." "Of course, Beta. We'll find someone here." That's how I met Faizan. Faizan was introduced to me through a family friend on September 15th, 2019. He'd come to the U.S. on a student visa in 2015 to study business at a small college in New Jersey. After graduation in 2018, he'd been on optional practical training, working at a marketing firm in Jersey City. We met at a cafe in Manhattan on September 20th. He was handsome, well-dressed, charming. He talked about his dreams of building his own business in America, about how hard he'd worked to make it here, about how he valued education and ambition. "I'm not looking for a traditional housewife," he said, which I appreciated. "I want a partner, someone independent and strong like you." We went on more dates. September 28th, dinner in Midtown. October 5th, a walk in Central Park. October 12th, lunch in Queens near my parents' house. He was attentive, texted me every morning, called me every night, brought me flowers, remembered small details I'd mentioned. My parents loved him. Such a nice boy, educated, religious, perfect for you. By November 2019, we were in a committed relationship. He'd tell me he loved me, that I was different from other girls, that he'd been waiting for someone like me his whole life. I believed him, because I wanted to. Because after so many failed relationships, I was desperate to believe that someone could actually love me for me. On December 24th, 2019, Christmas Eve, he proposed. Not with a big gesture, but something intimate. Just us in my apartment with a ring he said he'd saved months to buy. "Amara, you're my future. Marry me. Let's build our American dream together." I said yes, because I loved him, because everything seemed perfect, because I didn't see what was hiding beneath that perfect surface. After the engagement, Faizan became insistent about getting married quickly. "Why wait?" he'd say. "We're both ready, we love each other, let's do it soon." I wanted a proper wedding, something planned, but he kept pushing. "Let's do something small now, we can have a big reception later." My parents were confused by the rush but didn't object. "If you're both ready, why wait?" my mother said. So we got married on February 14th, 2020. Valentine's Day, a small ceremony at a mosque in Queens, just immediate family, about 30 people. Simple but beautiful. We moved into my apartment in Astoria. He quit his job in Jersey City, saying it was too far to commute. "I'll find something closer," he promised. "Don't worry, I have savings." But he didn't look for work, not seriously. He'd spend his days at home, claiming he was networking and building connections. Meanwhile, I was working 12-hour shifts at the hospital. "Faizan, you need to find a job," I'd say after coming home exhausted. "We can't live on just my income forever." "I will. I'm just waiting for the right opportunity. Trust me. Then March 2020 came. COVID-19 hit New York like a tsunami. The city shut down. The hospital became a war zone. I was working 16-hour shifts, sometimes double shifts, dealing with dying patients, overwhelmed systems, constant fear. And Faizan, he stayed home, safe, comfortable, not working, not contributing, just existing. I can't find work right now, he'd say. Everything's shut down. After the pandemic, I'll get something. I was too exhausted to fight, too busy trying to survive the worst healthcare crisis of our generation. So I let it go, thinking it was temporary, that things would get better. I had no idea what was really going on. By October 2020, things weren't getting better. We'd been married 8 months. Faizan still wasn't working. He'd stay up late on his phone, sleep until noon, do minimal housework despite being home all day. Meanwhile, I was drowning. Between work stress, pandemic trauma, and financial pressure, I was barely functioning. One day, October 15th, I came home early from a shift that got canceled. Faizan was on his laptop, and when he saw me, he quickly closed it. Too quickly. "What were you doing?" I asked. "Nothing, just YouTube." Something in his reaction felt off, but I was too tired to investigate. A few days later, on October 20th, I noticed something strange. I was looking for my marriage certificate to update some documents, and I found papers I'd never seen before. Immigration forms, green card applications, all filled out but not submitted yet. My heart started racing. I checked the dates. He'd started filling these out in March 2020, right after the wedding, before the pandemic even got bad. He'd been planning to apply for his green card through our marriage, which wasn't wrong. That's what spouses do, but something about the timing felt calculated, like this had been the plan all along. I confronted him that evening. "Were you planning to apply for a green card?" "Of course," he said casually. "We're married, that's the normal process. Why?" "Why didn't you tell me?" "I didn't think I needed to. It's standard procedure." "When were you going to file?" "Soon. I need to wait for my work permit first. Don't worry about it." But I was worried, because pieces were starting to click together, the rush to get married, the timing, the fact that his student visa had been expiring, his opt was ending. He needed to get married before his legal status ran out. And I was his ticket to staying in America. I couldn't shake the feeling. So on November 1st, 2020, when Faizan went out to meet a friend, I did something I'd never done before. I went through his laptop. His password was easy to guess. Our anniversary, 2/14. What I found destroyed me. Email after email with immigration lawyers, starting from August 2019, before we even met. "I need to find a U.S. citizen to marry urgently. My status expires in March 2020. Messages with friends back in Pakistan. "I found the perfect girl, American-born, nurse, good income. Family knows her family, she's the ticket." WhatsApp messages with someone named Zainab. "I know this is hard, but I have to do this. Once I get the green card, I'll figure out how to bring you here. I love you. This marriage is just paperwork." Zainab, his girlfriend, back in Pakistan, the woman he actually loved. I was just paperwork. I sat there staring at the screen, feeling like my entire world was collapsing. Our whole relationship was a lie. The romance, the proposal, the marriage, all of it, calculated, planned, executed. He'd used me, used my citizenship, used my love, used my desperation to believe someone could actually want me. I felt sick, humiliated, stupid. But beneath the pain, something else was forming. Anger, pure, cold, calculated anger. He thought he could use me and get away with it. He thought I'd just play along and help him get his green card. He was about to learn a very expensive lesson about using people. I didn't confront him immediately. That would have been stupid. He'd just deny everything, delete evidence, maybe even file for the green card faster to lock in his status. Instead, I got smart, strategic, patient. On November 5th, 2020, I started documenting everything. Screenshots of every message, every email, every conversation with immigration lawyers, everything about Zainab. I also started paying attention to his behavior, recording conversations on my phone, nodding every time he was distant, every time he was on calls with Zainab when he thought I was asleep. On November 10th, I scheduled a consultation with an immigration lawyer, not the ones he'd been talking to, a different one, a good one who specialized in marriage fraud cases. I met with attorney Sarah Mitchell in her Manhattan office on November 15th. I showed her everything I'd found. She reviewed it carefully. This is clear marriage fraud. He married you specifically to obtain immigration benefits. That's a federal crime. What can I do? Several things. First, you can refuse to cooperate with his green card application. Without your signature and participation, he can't proceed. Second, you can report the fraud to USCIS. Third, you can file for divorce and annulment on grounds of fraud. Will he get deported? If you report it with this evidence, very likely. Marriage fraud is taken seriously. He could face deportation and a permanent ban from re-entering the U.S. I felt a surge of satisfaction. How do we proceed? First, secure all evidence, make copies, store them somewhere safe. Then we'll file the reports with USCIS and start divorce proceedings. Over the next 2 weeks, I gathered everything, every document, every message, every proof that this marriage was a fraud from the beginning. Meanwhile, I acted normal at home, pretended nothing was wrong, let him believe he was getting away with it. On December 1st, 2020, everything was ready. The case was built. The evidence was documented. The reports were prepared. It was time to destroy him. On December 5th, 2020, Faizan came home excited. Good news! I finally got an interview with a company. They want to hire me. Things are looking up. I looked at him, this man who'd lied to me for over a year, who'd used me, who thought I was stupid enough to never find out. That's great, I said calmly. Hey, can we talk about something? Sure, what's up? I pulled out my laptop, opened all the screenshots, turned it toward him. When were you planning to tell me about Zainab? His face went white. What? Where did you? Your laptop. Password was easy to guess. I've seen everything. Every message with immigration lawyers. Every conversation with your friends. Every love message to your actual girlfriend in Pakistan. He started to speak, but I cut him off. Don't insult me further by lying. I know everything. I know you married me for a green card. I know this whole relationship was fake. I know I was just your ticket to staying in America. He stared at me, trapped. Amara, I can explain. There's nothing to explain. You used me. You committed marriage fraud, and now you're going to face the consequences. What are you going to do? I smiled, a cold, satisfied smile. I've already done it. I filed a report with USCIS 3 days ago, detailed report with all evidence of fraud, screenshots of your messages, your emails with lawyers, everything. They're reviewing the case now. The color drained from his face completely. You can't do that. We're married. You'd be hurting yourself too. I don't care. You destroyed our marriage the day you decided to use me. Now I'm making sure you pay for it. Amara, please, don't do this. I'll lose everything. They'll deport me. Good. That's exactly what I want. The next few weeks were intense. On December 8th, 2020, Faizan received a notice from USCIS. They were investigating our marriage for potential fraud. He panicked. Amara, please, you can still stop this. Tell them it was a misunderstanding, that we're really married. We're not really married. We never were. This was a business transaction for you, and now the deal is off. He tried everything, begging, crying, threatening. I'll tell your parents you're lying, that you're trying to destroy me out of spite. Go ahead, I've already told them everything, showed them all the evidence. They're on my side. My parents had been devastated when I showed them the truth on December 6th. My mother cried. My father was furious, but they supported me completely. We had no idea, my father said. We thought he was genuine if we'd known. It's not your fault, Abba. He fooled all of us. On December 15th, I filed for divorce and annulment in New York State Court. Grounds: fraud and misrepresentation. On January 5th, 2021, USCIS scheduled an interview with both of us. It was supposed to be for his green card application, but now it was an investigation. We sat in separate rooms. They questioned me first. Mrs. Khan, did you know your husband was using this marriage primarily for immigration benefits? Not until recently. I discovered evidence that he'd planned this before we even met, that he has a girlfriend in Pakistan, that he told people I was just paperwork. I provided all the evidence. They reviewed it carefully. Then they interviewed him. I don't know what he said, but when we left the USCIS building in Lower Manhattan, he looked broken. They're going to deny my green card, he said quietly, and start deportation proceedings. Yes, I said, they are. Over the next few months from January to June 2021, I watched Faizan's world crumble. His green card application was denied on January 25th. He received a notice to appear for removal proceedings on February 10th. He tried to fight it, hired an immigration lawyer, claimed the marriage was genuine, that I was lying out of spite because our relationship had problems. But the evidence was overwhelming. The messages to Zainab, the emails to lawyers from before we met, his own words calling me the ticket and paperwork. The immigration judge reviewed everything on April 15th, 2021, at the Immigration Court in New York. The hearing lasted 4 hours. At the end, the judge's ruling was clear. Based on the evidence presented, this court finds that Mr. Faizan Ahmed entered into marriage with petitioner Amara Khan primarily to obtain immigration benefits. This constitutes marriage fraud under INA Section 275C. The court orders Mr. Ahmed removed from the United States and finds him inadmissible for a period of lifetime. Lifetime ban. He could never return to the U.S., ever. Faizan looked at me from across the courtroom, not with anger, with defeat, complete and total defeat. The divorce was finalized on May 20th, 2021. The annulment was granted on the same day. Legally, our marriage was erased, like it never existed. On June 15th, 2021, Faizan was deported back to Pakistan. I didn't go to see him off, didn't say goodbye, just received a notification that he'd left the country. And just like that, it was over. He was gone. His American dream destroyed. His future in the U.S. permanently ended. The months following his deportation were strange. I felt relief, vindication, justice, but also emptiness. Because even though he'd used me, I'd loved him, or at least I'd loved who I thought he was. I went to therapy starting in July 2021. Needed to process the betrayal, the trauma, the humiliation of being used so completely. You did the right thing, my therapist said. He committed a crime, and you protected yourself. Then why do I feel so hollow? Because grief and anger can coexist. You're mourning the relationship you thought you had. That's normal. I took time off from dating, focused on healing, on rebuilding my sense of self-worth that he'd destroyed. My work helped. By September 2021, the pandemic was easing. The hospital was stabilizing. I got promoted to charge nurse in October. Life was moving forward. In December 2021, I heard through mutual friends that Faizan was back in Pakistan, living with his parents, working at a small office. His dreams of America gone forever. Zainab, she'd apparently dumped him once she found out he'd been deported and banned from the U.S. Turns out she'd only been interested because she thought he'd eventually bring her to America too. Karma is funny that way. He'd used me to get to America. She'd used him to get to America. And in the end, nobody got what they wanted. Except me. I got justice and my life back. By March 2022, 2 years after that fake wedding, I was in a much better place. The divorce was final. The trauma was healing. I was stronger. I started dating again in April 2022. Slowly, carefully, with much better boundaries. This time I asked questions, paid attention to red flags, didn't ignore my instincts. In July 2022, I met someone new. Another Pakistani-American, born and raised in the US like me, a doctor at a different hospital. We met through work connections. His name was Amir, and from the first conversation, things were different. Real, honest, no rush, no pressure, no hidden agendas. We dated for a year before getting engaged in August 2023. This time, there was no rush to marry. We took our time, did premarital counseling, had honest conversations about expectations, goals, values. We got married in June 2024. A beautiful wedding, big reception, everything I'd wanted the first time but never got. And this time, I knew it was real. Because you can feel the difference between someone who loves you and someone who's using you. You just have to be willing to see it. My life today in November 2024 is everything I fought for. A real marriage built on trust and love. A career I'm proud of, healing from past trauma. And the knowledge that I stood up for myself when it mattered most. Last month in October 2024, something unexpected happened. I received a message on Facebook from Faizan. Amara, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I wanted to reach out, to apologize for everything. I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to delete it, block him, move on, but curiosity got the better of me. What do you want? I replied. Nothing, I don't want anything from you, I wanted you to know I'm sorry. What I did was unforgivable. I used you, hurt you, destroyed what could have been something real if I'd just been honest. Why are you telling me this now, 4 years later? Because I've had a lot of time to think about my choices, about how selfish I was, how I hurt someone who genuinely cared about me just to chase a dream, and I realized that I lost more than just America. I lost my integrity, my character, any chance at real happiness. You did all that to yourself. I know, and I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that your revenge worked. Not just the deportation, but the fact that I have to live every day knowing I destroyed something good because I was too selfish to appreciate it. I read his message several times, and I realized something. I didn't feel angry anymore. I didn't feel satisfied by his suffering. I just felt nothing, complete indifference. Faizan, I appreciate the apology, but it doesn't change anything. You made your choices, I made mine. We both have to live with the consequences. I hope you've learned something from all this. I know I have. What did you learn? That my worth isn't determined by who values me. That I deserve honesty and respect. That I'm strong enough to stand up for myself even when it's hard. And that some bridges should stay burned. I didn't wait for his response. I blocked him and moved on with my life. So what did I really learn from being used for a green card? What's the moral of this painful, messy story? I learned that love without honesty is worthless. That grand gestures mean nothing if they're built on lies. That you can't build a real future on a fake foundation. I learned that trusting your instincts matters. When something feels off, it usually is. When someone's timeline seems rushed, there's usually a reason. When you feel like you're being manipulated, you probably are. I learned that standing up for yourself isn't cruel. Reporting marriage fraud wasn't revenge. It was justice. It was refusing to be complicit in a crime. It was protecting not just myself, but the integrity of the immigration system. I learned that you can't save someone who's using you. Faizan didn't want a real marriage. He wanted a green card. No amount of love or patience or understanding would have changed that. The only thing I could control was how I responded when I discovered the truth. Most importantly, I learned that your worth isn't defined by whether someone chooses you. Faizan didn't choose me. He chose what I could give him. But that says everything about him and nothing about me. The real revenge wasn't getting him deported. It was healing, moving on, finding real love, building a life so full and happy that his betrayal became just a story I tell, a lesson I learned, a chapter I closed. To everyone who's been used, to everyone who's discovered that someone they loved had ulterior motives, to everyone who's felt the humiliation of being chosen not for who you are, but for what you can provide. You deserve better. You deserve honesty. You deserve someone who values you for you, not for what you can give them. And when you discover you've been used, don't ignore it. Don't make excuses for them. Don't convince yourself it's not that bad. Stand up for yourself. Protect yourself. Report the fraud if that's what it is. Walk away if you need to, and don't feel guilty about it. Because people who use others have made their choice. The consequences are on them. He married me for a green card thinking I'd never find out, that I'd play along, that I'd be too naive or too desperate to see the truth. He was wrong. I found out. I stood up for myself, and I made sure he faced every consequence of his actions. That's not revenge. That's justice. That's self-respect. That's refusing to be anyone's ticket to anything. And that's how you take your power back.